So hello everyone and welcome to another part of the level design of Hat in Time. So today we're gonna somehow take a look at chapter 2, where we're just gonna start right into the first act. And I think what we're gonna do for this is I'm just gonna very quickly go through all the different acts, or most of them, some are a little bit similar, and talk about my thoughts about it. So first we start with Deadbird Studio, where one thing you can do is turn around, and I think it's a pretty cool thing that there's like so many cars up there. Like, it says Deadbird Studio. Nice bit of panorama, whatever. So you come in here, get a bit of a cutscene, I'd skip it because why not? So first off, we start off with the intro area right here, and what I like about this intro area is that there's just a bunch of different guys that we can talk to, nothing really too special, just a bit of flavor. Of course, you gotta have that flavor everywhere. If there wasn't any flavor, it would be a fairly boring and uninteresting world. Basically, it would be freeze me, but in this game, we can talk to a few of the characters. We can do some other stuff like take a look at the reception, or get some glasses, get some more glasses, and then wreck the entire machine because what the fuck not. Now, something you notice this like build that always happens. I wouldn't say that's part of the level design, but I'm gonna say that it's a really cool idea. That basically, you're breaking a bunch of stuff, you're doing stuff that you're not allowed to do, you're breaking a bunch of laws, so really you're gonna get billed for it. Though ultimately you won't. I like pretty much all of the flavor that's going on around here. Like, for example, you have movie posters right here from DJ Grooves, and you have some from the conductor where it says On the Science Express, and I think Trainwreck of Science was actually what the chapter 2 was supposed to be called early in development. So now that we've looked a bit at the different flavor and everything that's going on, there's been a lot of effort being put into this room. It could have just been a way for us to just move straight through, just walk through a door and be done, but as we noticed, we can't actually do too much like walking through doors in here. Like, the stuff is boarded up, like people telling us no, we can't go in. So obviously, because this is a jump and run game, like platformer, we're gonna do some jumping, there's some running, there's some ponds up here and some movie posters, or some posters in general. So we jump up here, that we see more ponds on this sign. So obviously we want to jump up here. And notice that the camera sort of shifts a bit. And when the camera shifts over and points us toward the wall, it feels like there's something else here, and you kind of actually, especially if you are at a distance and you look around, you see that there's a green ponds up there. You also see that you have this little grate with some lighting on it, very important, lighting. Lighting, very, very important, always. I didn't talk too much about it in Mafia Town, because I feel like Mafia Town didn't really need specific lighting that much, and I didn't use it that much in my opinion. But so you use the ponds to guide the player up here as well. You use the lighting, you use the fact that the grade is looking like it's about to fall off, and so everyone who gets a little bit maybe stumped here at first, which I don't think happens, but maybe some players are just not very good at environmental, like picking up clues and everything, or looking around. At some point when they just decide to look around a little bit, they should find this very quickly. So we enter here and more stuff gets added to the bill, or if we didn't have anything on the bill, this is where the bill comes in. And you can just jump through here, and suddenly the entire atmosphere of the entire gaming experience, I would call it, changes. The music changes, the lighting changes, suddenly the entire all the graphics surrounding us look very different. Suddenly there's people running around that don't want to talk to us. They have these like beams that want to search for us with, and if we get caught by them, we take damage. We get billed for 100,000 points, all that stuff. So suddenly everything is completely different, and I feel I really like that not visually and gameplay wise, and like from an audio perspective as well, suddenly everything is completely different, and it really feels like we've stepped somewhere completely different, where we're not supposed to be, like a completely different world almost. Also, something to notice which I find interesting is that spatially this makes absolutely no sense, because wasn't there supposed to be a door maybe somewhere around where I'm looking at right now? Because there was like, if you imagine that's the room over there, isn't there supposed to be like a door right here? Maybe I can even flip my camera around through the wall. not quite, but you can kind of see that there's supposed to be a door in the side of this, but it makes absolutely no sense because there's nothing here, it's just a giant wall. But I mean, I don't mind too much, because once you get to this place, the fact that the door doesn't line up is really the least of your concern. That's not really something that I thought about even up until now. It's because once you come through here, the entire atmosphere and the atmosphere of this place that you stumble into, like, takes you in a little bit, so you don't even worry about stuff like that. Well, you can just do some cool running around here. Woo! Not that it actually matters. Oh, cool! Look at that! Look at what I just found. Anyway, so now that we are in this area, we're getting back a little bit to the, not a little bit, we are getting back to the more standard style of gameplay where it's just like, okay, here's a stage, move through the stage. Now, we are not really in a free roamy type area that we've been for Mafia Town really. Up until like now in Mafia Town, apart from maybe the Mafia HQ mission, we've been in like an open area, like even though we had a sort of goal that we wanted to move towards, like, oh, battle, we're gonna move towards the battle, we're gonna run around and collect the specific tickets or turn off the valves, which are very specific goals in a like a more open area though. So we did somewhat have this open world experience, even though we had these sort of individual goals, but now it's very obvious that what we're doing right now is more of a linear experience, similar to Mafia HQ, but where Mafia HQ still really was you enter a building within that open world. Now, from the start, we are in this linear experience where it's very obvious that there's nothing too open worldy about this. So, as we move through this, there are specific tasks that we need to complete in order to move forwards, or maybe we don't. What I really like about this part is that there's many different ways you can go. Like, of course, it is linear, but similar to the very first, act, I would say, of the entire game, where you are in Mafia Town and you can follow just the path normally, or you can take different shortcuts every now and then. I feel like it's very similar here, where you have this linear path that you can take, which is fairly obvious, I would say. Not super obvious like it was in Mafia Town, where it was really a road, but I feel like it's fairly obvious, especially if you follow the ponds in this area, where the sort of main linear path is. But it's also very obvious that at all of these different points you can take different paths if you want to. You can jump up here, very simple. Here you can either attack this, or you can jump over there if you want to. It's the same path, but it's different methods of going there. Right here, where the ponds and the searchlight to some degree guide you to where you have to go. You can also, if you want to, you can come over here and maybe, there is a yarn over here. Nice. You can also jump down there and realize that it actually kills you for some reason, because you're really not supposed to be over there. Anyway, I also like, obviously, all the different flavor that's going on here. You walk through these different sets where DJ grooves, or where the conductor is, or his minions are running around and they're filming stuff and doing stuff all over the place. The camera itself also does some cool stuff. Oh wow, there's something studio recordings. I'm gonna get billed for that? Can I stand on these? I totally can't. Anyway, well, as I was about to say, even though there is this linear path, and you do, even a speedrun, you follow it to some degree, I really like that it's also very obvious that you can take other paths. It's not trying to hide it from you. Oh, could you take other paths? You're gonna have to look for it. No, it shows you pretty much like, look, there's other paths if you want to. Maybe they're not super obvious, but come on, just open your eyes and you're gonna find so many different places you can go to, so many different things that you can do, so many cool things you're allowed to have fun with in this stage. It still feels kind of like a playground. All the time through, and I really enjoy that feeling, because it doesn't really feel like a railroad at any point. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't really feel like a railroad, even though to some degree it is. It is pretty much a railroad. There's like one specific path through the stage where even if you do take different paths, different sideways every now and then, you're still gonna follow that main path. In German, we have this word or this phrase where we say open Schlauch, which pretty much means it's linear, but it's an open linear experience. Where yeah, it's really linear, but I guess you can sneak the word open into it, because to some degree it is. So what else is there to this stage other than it's a really nice open linear experience that is not trying to be too subtle about its methods? I could say other apart from the flavor completely being on point. Like I really like the different visuals in this stage, the different movie sets that you walk through, the different stuff that you hear, like audio wise, the music that's going on, the color scheme of everything, like so these vibrant colors around the sets, but also these like more sort of like more subtle like hidden areas, like right down here where you see it gets a bit darker and more secret agent style. Like we're kind of like not really being a secret agent, but we're totally going against the rules, so we're trying to stay in the shadow and everything. So yeah, I really like that about everything. And I also like the gameplay where it's not just the same all the way through. Like right here you have to throw a switch, you know, these little things that you've ridden the entire time, like these, whatever they are. Now there's a section where it's a bit slower and you're gonna have to dodge these guys' search beams on the way. I really like the different gameplay as well. So overall I would say this is a really nice stage, different styles of music, of visuals, of gameplay all throughout. Very nice open linear experience, and we're about done with this stage, I would say. So what else do we have? So for our first stage, really well done, really like it. And also a stage where you can play through it multiple times, take a few different paths here and there. Like I said, for the most part, you're still going to take that central main path, but you can experience a few different things every now and then and play around a bit with all the different flavor that's going on. Really nice. So what else do we have? Also, by the way, in case anyone who is watching this who is interested in my speedruns and wondering why I haven't been doing speedruns, if you've been listening to my voice, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm not at the height of my health, but we're getting there. So what else do we have? Let's just go in number. We have Act 2, Murder on the Owl Express. This is the first conductor stage, and we're gonna see that the conductor stages are pretty much all on, for the most part, supposed to be on the same train, and the DJ Groove stages are very obviously in the same place, but between the two stages, like the two conductor stages and the two DJ Groove stages, it's also very obvious that they are very obvious changes between the two. So this stage right here, even though it does play on this train, it is very different from the train from Train Rush. Very obvious that that's the case. And in DJ Groove's case, it is the same area, but because the crowd is at the bottom of the entire area, you can't really go to the ground floor anymore, so you're confined to the upper parts. So it also is a very different experience. So let me just go through the first part right here. So I have all the rooms unlocked, and now I'm going to talk about it. So you start off in this area, in that first little room, where you just talk to the conductor outside of the first car. And you also notice that the whole style, like the visual style, does really feel like it's like this old-timey detective movie where maybe color was just invented and they're still using it in a more like mute way, I would say. And to some, it does look very mute, I would say, the colors and everything. I really like that. It's like dampened everything. And you go for the first car, and in the first car you meet a bunch of characters you can talk to, and most importantly the crows. The crows walk right towards you and they ask you like security questions stuff. I really like that as well. But I'm not here to talk about the game design aspect of the crows. I'm more here to talk about the level, how it's built. So after you've gone through that very, once again, linear path with the crows, like to talk to you, blah blah, you come in this room. Pretty much the same experience, you just get to see more of the different styles of train cars you're gonna see in here. You have this guy who's blocking your way. I mean, you can talk to him, but you can't really get through there. So you just continue through, and at this point you'll be like, oh, wait a second. I was just going through this, like straight through, and now suddenly there's a locked door. So you look for the key in this room, and you don't find it in this room. And this is the point where you're gonna have to realize that this train doesn't really make too much sense. If you think about what this train would look like from the outside, especially because there's a window right here, you'd be like, well, I guess I'm stuck because I can't go left and right, right? Because I'm in a train car and there's windows on both sides, right? No, not really, because you can actually go in here, and for some reason there's a whole different room here that actually makes no sense logically that this room is even here. This really point where people, you should realize that, yeah, this train does not follow any sort of logic. Rooms are just there. They're just all over the place, as if this was like a house or something, or a mansion. Rooms are just all over the place, and it doesn't really look like a straightforward linear train at all. So I like the idea that it does tell you this at this point, so you don't get confused later when the murder happens and you're gonna have to go to all these different rooms. So I guess at this point it might not have clicked that much that this is indeed the case. But at least it has planted that seed in your brain that, okay, this train doesn't make sense, whatever. So you pick up the key, you see that there's another room behind here, so you get, once again, you get shown for the second time, oh, there's other rooms in this train that I could potentially go to at some point, but not right now because they're blocked by just a guy telling me that his contact lenses he's lost. Oh my god. Yeah, very funny. Giant fire. Amazing. Oh, too much sauce. I like the flavor as well. Once again, in general, I haven't said this too much in Mafia Town, but even more so in Chapter 2, there's a lot of flavor going on. Like, things that don't really need to be there for the stage to function. Like, they don't add any function to the stage. Right here, like, what function do these joking guys add to it? Right now, nothing. Maybe later they do, but right now they add nothing to it. But they do add a lot of flavor to it. It makes the whole game experience more spicy, more alive. I feel like this is like an actual world, which I really like. Like this stuff right here, the drinks menu, flaming giraffe, lovebirds, rooster tail. I like it. I like it. Where's the Long Island though? How do we have a cocktail without a Long Island? Anyway, call it a short island. Make a bit of fun of it. So yeah, I really like the flavor entirely in this entire Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is full of flavor everywhere. I think this is like probably the most flavorous chapter of the entire game, where there's been a lot of care and effort put into all of the different spices that are on these stages. So once you've found that, you make it all the way to the end of the train. At this point you may be like, wait, I'm already at the end of the train? I've gone for the entire train? Huh, that's weird. Like, I know there's two of these side areas, but I guess I've seen every room then, for the most part. Maybe like this one other room that I haven't been to, and this other room that was blocked. So maybe like 1.5 rooms that I've been missing. Huh, interesting. So you open up this, you get the detective hat that is functionally exactly the same from normal hat. And when you get this, you just instantly switch away from it in a speedrun because it does nothing. Once again, I like the bits of flavor everywhere. Nice. So you get called by, which I think is supposed to be DJ Grooves. I'm not sure actually if it is. I think it might be supposed to be him, but I'm not certain. It could be someone else completely, but yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter actually who it is. It's just my guess, but people can probably have other guesses. It might just be an owl or a crow that uses voice modulation or whatever. I really don't care. So after that, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I go back to the beginning. And this is something that is, I think, a bit of a new experience maybe for players at this point, because you're not really used to going backwards through a stage that you've already gone through, expecting something to change, really. Usually, so far, the entire experience of the game has been, oh, go from point A to B and you do some tasks on the way. Maybe there's multiple point Bs, but still, you just walk from point to point and you do tasks along the way. Now it's suddenly, oh wait, you know this train, even though there's like 4 rooms to it? Yeah, you've seen the entire thing, now walk backwards and something is gonna change. There's gonna be like story to it. the rooms and the entire state of the entire stage is gonna change from one point to the next? What is this? This is a lot different. This is very different from all the stuff we've seen so far. However, even though the experience is very different from all the stuff we've seen so far, and by the way, you can totally see this guy blink, even though he's supposed to be dead. The gameplay, the actual gameplay that you're doing is still exactly the same. You're still running around with all these different moves that you know and are very much well versed in at this point in the game, and you're using them to do platforming. That's pretty much exactly what you're doing still. You're still just running around doing the specific backtracking, doing the specific platforming. Nothing has changed so far in that regard. Nothing has changed. You're still doing exactly the same platforming as always, and because it's platforming, as you just saw, you can totally sequence break the shit out of it, which is also really cool, which is why the stage, even in a speedrun, is really nice. So, even though I would say the reason why we're doing what we're doing, which is platforming, has completely changed. The whole build-up behind everything, the story that is suddenly in this stage that usually isn't part of the stage too much, like maybe at Mafia HQ with a bit of a story behind it of going in and toppling the Mafia, but apart from this stage is pretty much all about the story, about the mystery, about the murder. But even so, the gameplay, exactly the same. You're just running around, you're doing platforming, really nice. Now, of course, there is this whole aspect of the, like a bit of the stealthy sort of gameplay style, and you have this sort of mystery interaction stuff where you talk to this guy, and then maybe at some point you're gonna have to do specific things right then and there because he tells you something like, here, you have to save your pet, haha. You have to do a bit more with switches, whoa. It's not exactly the regular gameplay, like of course it does have its own twist to it a little bit, but for the most part, what are you actually doing, thinking about the inputs that you're doing and how these inputs relate to what happens on screen? Pretty much exactly the same as the stages before. You press the jump button, you jump. There's a hill, you jump up the hill. In this case, the hill is a bunch of like a bunch of coffers or whatever you want to call them, luggages stacked on top of each other's. Amazing. And why are you doing it? Not to get from point A to point B, but to solve a murder. But still, not that much stuff has changed in what you're actually doing on screen. So, in here you see a bit more of the different gameplay aspects having to play. Once again, because it's a jump and run, and this is why I really like, is because it still retains this central jump and run gameplay. You can totally break it. You can totally do it the way you want to do. It's not like maybe there will be other games that have a similar thing where it's like, okay, now we're gonna have a stealth section. In this stealth section, you can't do this move, you can't do that move, you can't do this. Kind of like Vanessa. We're gonna get there at some point. We're gonna get to Vanessa, but not in this video. And that actually changes the entire gameplay. But in this, the gameplay stays the same, but the environment that you're doing the gameplay in has shifted. But because the gameplay is still the same, if you know how to do a specific thing in that standard gameplay and know to use it to a specific effect, you can obviously do exactly the same. So, for example, I know that I can run up a wall and then jump off it to get to higher places. I can still do the same thing here. I know there's supposed to be a stealth section down there. I don't care. I know how the gameplay works. I know how to use the gameplay in however way I want to use it. I have all this freedom given to me, so I can use it. I'm gonna use it. That's a really nice thing to happen in this stage. Now the stage becomes a little bit more open where you have different paths you can go to, but because there are all these locked doors and you need keys for them, it's still... There is sort of a progression through this stage that you kind of need to take, but similar to Deadbird Studios, you can always go to these different side paths, though not a bit unlike Deadbird Studios, it's not that obvious that there are all these optional side paths. Like when I first played this stage, I felt like I pretty much had to go everywhere, or I needed to go everywhere. Like I really wanted to search all over the place in order to make sure that I find everything. Unlike Deadbird Studio, where it's like, okay, just get through the stage doesn't matter if you find everything or not. It doesn't matter if you find everything or not. If you do, great, nice. Here's some yarn, here's some relics. Similarly to in here, but because you want to gather these different evidences, because you want to make sure you don't miss any keys or locked doors, it does feel more like a commitment to actually go everywhere and figure out where everything is. Yeah, explore everything. So you might come into a room like this, and even though you don't really need to do the stuff in here, I kind of still want to do it, because it does actually reward you with a piece of evidence, which is also pretty nice. So you do this, you talk to your pet, and you actually get a piece of evidence. Nice. So it does actually have a sort of sense in that as well, and once again, the flavor is also pretty nice. I really like the flavor, and this totally bounces you upwards. Nice, 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 nice. So what else do we have to say about the stage? I like the fact that the timer isn't actually a timer, it's just supposed to be flavor, but yeah, you know, whatever, it's cool, it's cool. Oh, look at that, I just advanced the time because I was supposed to walk through that door with a key, which I totally did. Whee! I think that's actually it mostly for the stage. I like that you can point to absolutely every single culprit and they will always say, oh yeah, you were totally right, that guy was indeed the culprit. Or you can, if you get no evidence at all, you just get given one evidence and then it's just that guy, which will be the schmuck called the conductor. So yeah, that's for this stage. Really nice stage. I like how you use the same basic gameplay in a different environment with different reasons, different story behind it, different twists to it, and it still perfectly works. Really nice, enjoyable in a casual playthrough and in a speedrun as well. Really enjoy that. Now we have Picture Perfect. Picture Perfect, I think I'm gonna go through this and then probably not the other stage because I can just go to the roofs of this stage anyway and show that off. So now once again we're back to this more open type of world or stage rather, where we are given, instead of actually being given those specific points where we want to go to on screen like we had for example, to some degree the vault, because the vault at the start of the entire stage showed us with like these lines where all the different tickets are, and in the lava mafia stage we got to see on screen where everything is, so we were never really lost that way. And now it's like we're more given a general sense of an idea of what we want to do. The idea is we want to build a fan club, and just like in real life, if you have a lot of fans, you get a lot more fans very quickly. If you have no fans, it's very difficult to get a lot of fans quickly, which is the reason why even after 7 or even 8 years of YouTubing, yeah, 8 years of YouTubing, I still have only 20 views on my newest videos. Actually, it's been 100 with Hat in Time, but that's Hat in Time, so it doesn't count. Whatever. But that's how it works, at least. But anyway, come back to this stage. I like the idea that... oh my god, I've never actually done this. Which card is he holding? Of course he's holding... I can't input Peck. Oh, I wanted to input Peck. He's holding the 67. Oh my god, it was correct. I like the flavor of this stage. It really gets... I really like it. Anyway, getting back to this stage. What I want to say is, I like the idea that this stage doesn't really give you a direct hint on what to do. It just says, get a fan club. And if you sort of look around the stage, you see that there are multiple interesting things, I would say, multiple things that catch your eye. For example, when you start the stage, you instantly see at least 2 things that catch your eye. So first off, you start up here and you'll see that there's these penguins that have question marks all over the place, all over the heads. And you're like, I've seen a lot of NPCs before in this game, and none of them had anything above their heads or anything similar to this. So you walk up to them or anything or something like that, and by getting close to them, you see Headkit going, hello there, and they go, yay, and they get really happy. The question marks above their head turn into cheers and laughter and yay, really happy. And you notice that you get fans. After that, the question mark disappear and they are happy for you. So there you go, I get fans, by talking to people. Oh, nice. Oh, awesome. Thanks for the follow, man. You also see these all over the places everywhere else. So you get guys said, oh, I can do this all over the place. Whenever I see a penguin with a thing above their head, I can talk to them and I get fans. Nice. Also, this guy totally just killed Hatkit. Anyway, you also, something else that will catch your eyes when you come in here is that, oh, there's an icon over there. There's an icon of DJ Grooves over there, so obviously you collect it, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Even if you don't know if it's collectible, you're still gonna go over it, because why wouldn't you? And you see that, oh, it's a little mini event. So you just do the mini event because of course you have to save the pupper. Why wouldn't you save the pupper? So you save the pupper by swatting it or just running into it. And DJ Grooves go, oh, nice, you saved the guy. And you gain even more fans. And you go, oh, I can do endorsements by going over that icon, and that's how I get even more fans. Now, it could potentially be that at this point in the stage you don't quite realize or you don't notice that these guys can make pictures of you. It probably will happen at some point just by running around, by looking at more interesting stuff that catches your eye. But the thing is, even if you don't notice these because you don't see them immediately upon entering the stage, you only see the other two things upon entering the stage, it doesn't really matter too much, because if you just do the endorsements, if you just talk to the fans, you will get enough fans anyway. So you don't need the pictures at that point. The stage gives you enough information right off the bat to beat the entire stage very handily even. And then if you figure out that you can make photos with these, even greater. It's a cool experience to figure that out, even though it's not even that hidden. It's not that hidden at all, but still, it's still a cool place. It's still a cool thing because the game never told you about this. You just sort of happen to run into it, and it's cool. So that's the stage. How the stage is built, I like the idea that you have sort of you have two stages pretty much. You have the stage that's down there on the ground, and then you have the stage over the rooftop. And I guess that was intentional, because then later on you have a stage that's just the rooftops. So yeah, they put ample efforts into making sure that the rooftops are a pleasure to run around in towards. You can very quickly jump from one rooftop to another. The distances between them aren't too big. You also have the lines to keep catching you in between, but the lines come with a bit of a price, because you need to make sure that you don't accidentally get hit by all these different things that are on the lines, these like electricity spikes or whatever. You also have enemies, but yeah, enemies, whatever. They exist. So you can keep going on and on over these rooftops by jumping between rooftops, going on the different colored places down there, by jumping on the lines, by running up some walls. Why not? You can keep yourself up here, which is really cool, very easily, very enjoyable, but at the same time there's also a lot of life going on down here in the streets. You have like these different cars going around, people taking pictures, you have springs to get up, stuff all over the place, endorsements. Like, there's also a lot of flavor going on as well. Not quite as much flavor as I think the train has. I think the train has a bit more flavor, mostly because down here in the streets, you just have buildings with penguins in front of them. Maybe a bit of stuff here and there, but not quite as much flavor as, for example, the what is it, like the dining car in the train, where you have like the crows telling jokes or whatever. So in general, I like the conductor better, but that's mostly because Train Rush is probably the greatest stage in this entire game, at least in my opinion. At least from a speedrunning opinion, you know? Train Rush is just amazing. We're gonna get to it after this, I think. So yeah, this is it for this stage. Pretty enjoyable as well, fun to run around, and both stage tasks that are in here, both are about running around, so they take full, they take that into full effect. Yeah, this is the first task where you have to run around and talk to guys, get pictures, do endorsements. The other one, you literally do run around as part of the tasks, as the task. So yeah, good stage, good stage. I like this one, I like this one. But now we come to the main event, of course. Now we come to the main event. That was a pretty good stage. I like the moon. I also like I mean, I like the idea that the gravity is a bit lowered on the moon, because yeah, you're on the moon, but at the same time, as a speedrunner, it does get a little bit weird if you're trying to do, like, the very first time you get into that stage and you realize that the controls and physics are a bit off because of the lower gravity, and you're trying to do dive boosts and you accidentally cancel your dive too early because you haven't hit the ground yet. That's a bit awkward, but apart from that, I like it. I like the idea behind it, especially because if you are in that second act on the big parade and you do jump from building to building to building, having a lower gravity does help with that quite a bit. It's not lower by that much, it's only slightly lower, but it still helps a bit. And it's not very annoying, like you still don't feel like you're wearing moon shoes and you take like 10 minutes to land on the ground after you jump. You don't have to buy an engagement ring for your jumping arcs, you can still play the game fairly fluidly, so I like that. But now to the main event, Train Rush. I'm pretty certain that this is a stage that they made very early on in development, and I'm not saying that just because it was one of the earliest stages they ever showed off and showed in the beta and in Speedrun Challenge, and we've seen pretty much this stage. As soon as we announced that this game was announced, we saw this stage. So not just because of that do I think the stage was made early in development, but because this stage encapsulates the whole speedrunny feeling that this game has. So I'm maybe gonna go for the stage multiple times, because why the fuck not? I'm gonna make some mistakes here and there because I'm talking, but still. So this stage pretty much plays like a guided roller coaster. It is, unlike the Mjörder on the AliExpress, this is really, thanks for the follow, man. This really does play like the absolute linear experience, where it's very obvious that, oh my god, this is linear as fuck and I have a timer, run, run, run. You just want to go, go, go for the entire thing as much as you can. Now, maybe, for example, in other stages that also feel very linear, you feel like, oh, let me explore, let me turn around, look around, and maybe I can explore, find some secrets. No, this stage is pretty obvious that there's not supposed to be secrets, you're not supposed to turn around, there's no other paths to go. It's you, it's a path, and there's a timer. And you want to beat that timer, you want to go fast as you can. You also have the music that gets really intense, I really like it. I think it's swing, a really nice swing. I got the electro swing version in there as well, I don't have it right now. I'm gonna run it again after this with the electro swing version if I have it unlocked. I should have it unlocked, I have it unlocked. I really like the music, really gets the blood pumping as well. I like how the more the stage goes on, the more crazy it gets. Like at the very start, it's just like, okay, here's like 1 or 2 cannons that shoot at you and you jump like once or twice. Okay, after that you have another room full of poison. But once again, you just jump a bit and you're mostly fine. But then you get to like the later parts where suddenly the stage falls apart. All these different train cars, they explode, they get torn apart. Now here's platforms rising up, jump through a burning ring. I guess that's not really that important. You do the puzzle where you go across the panes, where you have to make sure that your path is correct, and then the final room is just like, here's everything, exploding cakes, lava, platforms up and down, jumping over panes all over the place, you can barely stand anywhere, you have to multitask, exploding cakes on one side, you get shot from the other side while jumping over the lava on the panes. There's another bit of panes, now you have to jump even more. It gets way more crazy as the stage goes on. I really like that as well. It just gets more crazy and crazy and crazy, and the music just keeps going and going and going, and it's a really nice feeling to have in there. So what do we have? That's it, right? I don't know. What does this mean? That's not the electro swing version. I'm gonna put the electro swing version on YouTube right now. That's actually way better while I play the stage again, because I have more to talk about. But let me just very quickly turn on the electro swing version. That's so great. Train Rush electro swing. It's just gonna take like 2 seconds. I have it right here, and I'm already playing it. There we go. Just make sure it's not too loud. And we're right in there. Okay, more about the stage. So I hope this is not too loud, by the way. Let me just very quickly check. Yeah, this is maybe okay. There you go. Now it should be fine. I accidentally pressed the A button. So I said at the very start of this, that this stage sort of encapsulates the whole speedrunny feeling of the entire game. And while I say that, it is kind of very different from the rest of the game, because the rest of the game, for the most part, feels more open. Maybe there's a few open linear levels, but for the most part, it feels a bit more open. And you have different paths to go, you have secrets to uncover, all this different stuff. But this stage, as like the only stage of its kind, which what makes it so special, pretty much says, just go, man, just go, go. It just really aches you forward as much as you can with all the different things that are going on. Like it starts out fairly nice, very simple, and you just press the button and then it's like, oh, you just press the self-destruct. Go! And you see the timer coming up and the timer goes like 2 minutes remaining and you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Like these guys, you can't just talk to them, they just go run, run. Everything in the stage, the music, the gameplay, the way that all the different cars are designed. You'll notice that these cars, maybe they have a few different jumps, like I can jump left or right here, but for the most part, if you look at this, it's still one forward way. Even if you go left or right, you're not ever even getting close to turning around. You're never even doing more than like a 90-degree turn on this stage. You're always getting pointed forwards at any point, no matter what you're doing. You're always looking forwards all the time. Even right here, you're not going backwards. You just go right once and that's it. Once again, you can go right and left a bit, but you're still never ever even getting close to turning around, looking back. I've never actually looked back in this stage once in my entire life. That was probably the very first time I've done that. Whee! Yeah, that stuff happens. Oh, I'm going backwards. Crazy. You also have these clocks, but obviously we don't need clocks because we're very, very fast. And I'm just gonna play the entire stage again because I somehow managed to bug it. It's okay, bugs, they happen. It's also a complete joy to speedrun, which obviously was part of the entire intention, that this is a stage where if you know what you're doing, you can go really fast and you don't really have to stop at any point, apart from when you first come to the top of the train. There was a skip at that point. There was actually a train skip you can do where you don't have to wait at the top of the train, and there's actually a different movement you can do. Like, even though this is you would say this is a fairly linear stage, it is a very linear stage. If you watch a speedrun versus watching someone play it casually, they don't just play the stage faster, they also do very different types of movement. They don't do exactly the same jumps, they do different jumps. Even between speedrunners, different speedrunners do different jumps. They do take stuff a bit differently every now and then, here and there. And it's still mostly the same speed between them. That makes it all really interesting as well. Whee! So yeah, in general, I think I have nothing but praise for this stage. I would say that maybe if you are a bit super, like let's say you are really super casual, like a 5-year-old or something, and you've never played a game before, maybe the stage could be a little bit difficult, but then you just get better. Because that's what kids do when they're faced with a challenge. You guys out there saying the game's too hard, you're faced with a challenge, you get better, you rise up to the challenge, and then once you've risen up to the challenge, and you've beaten it, you feel good about it. You're like, oh, I done it, nice, yeah. You get that sense of satisfaction. You don't get a sense of satisfaction if it's too easy, and you didn't have to get better. Take that. Perfectly in time with the music. Yeah, so that's Train Rush. I didn't talk about Train Rush too much, mostly because I'm just listing a bunch of stuff that's really awesome about this stage, and there's just nothing else for me to mention other than how good it is. So let's just move on with the next stage now that we had so much praise for that. Like, I don't think I need to talk about the big parade anymore. I mean, it's an auto-scroller. I mean, also Train Rush is like the speedrun stage right next to Big Parade, which is the anti-speedrun stage. Because you can't make it go faster, apart from in these in-between sections. Maybe you can do it a few seconds faster, but whoop-de-doo. For the most part, this is going to be the same thing every time in a speedrun. Woo. So nothing too special there. And then we're actually pretty much done, because the rest is below that Bird Studio. Can we do that from here? I don't know. I don't actually know if we can trigger that again. Like, yeah, okay, we can trigger it again by doing this. So now we have the finale, which is such an amazing, experience. It's not, it doesn't really have to do with level design, more like game design, but what an amazing experience it is for most players, for any player, to have that award ceremony where it's just like, okay, here, have your piece. And I think it's deliberate that this happened this early in the game before we had seen a finale. So in Mafia Town, there is no finale stage. Chapter 2 is the first chapter that has a finale stage on the level select that you have to work towards and then uncover at the end. And I think it's deliberate that also feels like, that's odd. That was nothing. That was just, he just gave me a timepiece and that was it. What's that? But because you haven't seen a finale up till that point, you don't know. Maybe that's what the finales are like. How would you know? You haven't seen it up until that point. So when that first happened, I was like, maybe that's just what finales are. I don't know. I really didn't know that, but I was a bit confused. Like, if I had a finale, like, let's say I had a chapter 3 finale at that point before, I would have been like, hold up. Hey, something's wrong here for some reason. Like, this shouldn't be like that. Like, I know from chapter 3 finale, that was supposed to be a boss fight, that was supposed to be more story. He just gives me a timepiece. Something is definitely wrong there. But because it was the first time I saw that, I was just very confused. And getting confused at that finale is exactly what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to get very confused. You come out of that stage of that finale, and then you're like, that was weird. And when you try and leave, because that's finale, that's the final stage, you've probably maybe done the time rifts already, so after that you have no more business in that area. It's very important that that is actually happening at the finale, because after that is where you try and leave the area. You try and leave the chapter 2 area, because you've done everything in there, that was the finale, and then the call happens. And I think that's the place where everyone collectively goes, and we're just, I was just so in awe that they actually did that. And then they go, blow the cover on this, darling. Amazing. By the way, I had always had Conductor win for me because just Train Rush is just too good. If you're a speedrunner, you will probably have the Conductor win just because of Train Rush. Anyway, what am I going to say? Oh yeah, I really like that moment. It doesn't have anything to do with level design, which is why I'm still in this room right here, but I wanted to mention it because that's such an amazing piece of game design right there, where you fake out the player's expectations because he doesn't know what to expect from a finale. You get him really confused, and then you pull the wool over his eyes, and then you go, yeah, you know what? Here's the real finale, go at it. And you go into a stage you've already gone into, suddenly it's nighttime, the music is different, everything is completely different, the color scheme and everything is different, the atmosphere is, there's a complete 180 almost, not a complete 180, but it is so different. You come in here, my eyes start hurting a little bit because the colors are a bit very saturated, the blues I mean, hurts my eyes a little bit, but you know what? I want to forgive it because you don't actually do this for too long. So you jump through here, this button is missing for some reason. And I think this it's fairly important that the button is missing. Like, probably most people look at this go like, that's weird, let me just do something else then. I think it's actually still fairly important that the button is missing, because, let me tell you why it's important that that button is missing. The game, if the actual level designer of Hand in Time is watching this right now, he'd probably be going like, I just thought there was, why is it important? I don't even know what you're talking about right now. But you know, I know it's actually important, because it teaches the player that you can't just rely on all his baby steps that he's been done all this time. Like, let me just do a jump up here. Oh, let me just do this. Let me just not press the run button. Let me just go over here, okay? Let me just do a single jump. Oh, maybe double jump. Oh, no, I can't do it. It basically tells the player, yo, it's time to actually make sure you know how to do jumps well in environments that don't maybe immediately tell you how to do the jump. Like, yeah, there's the ponds, but because the player expected there to be a button, they don't maybe immediately expect the jump to be there, because they expected the button instead, and they get a little bit flustered upon not seeing the button there. So you're like, okay, player, you're gonna need to do some other jumps this time, no more baby footing around. Look at your environment. Look at your environment. See where the ponds are. See where the jumps are. Remember how jumps work in this game. And get it together. I think that's why this is important, even though the level designer is watching right now. Is probably going to be like, yeah, that's actually not at all why I did that. But still, I needed to mention that. So then you come around here, use some crazy stuff. You actually don't do what I'm doing right now, but I want to do it anyway because it's cool. Look at that. Woo, woo, woo. And you fall down because it's fun. Anyway. So you come through here, everything so far has been, the colors have mostly been gone. It's just this like very sort of dark blue, yeah, different shades of blue. About 50 shades maybe even of dark blue. 50 shades of blue? No, never mind. And you see a little bit of light maybe on the set. Personally, I actually would have liked if the set wasn't lit up for gameplay purposes, but for visual purposes, it's really nice that it's lit up because it looks cool. Like, I think it looks cool that the set is lit up the way it is, as in contrast to the other, like, non-colors. It's like these like shades of blue that are going on. So from a visual perspective, it looks really cool, but the problem that I noticed from a gameplay perspective is that people at that point thought that, oh, some stuff is just lit whatever, and they just walk through this, and then they come here and they're like, huh, what do I do? I've seen this multiple times. Now, maybe like out of 10 players, I've seen this like 3 times. I actually watched a lot of streams. Usually when I speedrun a game, what I do is I wake up, I look at strats, I speedrun the game, I speedrun like 3 or 4 runs, and then for the rest of the day, I watch streams. So like half of my day was watching streams for like the first like 4 or 5 days of release. Not anymore because most people have already played at this point. But yeah, that was at least what I was doing when the game came out. And I saw a lot of people run past this. Well, 3 out of 10 is still a lot of people. Like 30%, 33% of people. No, it is 30% people running past. I don't know if that's that good. And I think part of it is because there's light on that set. Like I said, visually it's really nice that the set is lit, but it kind of gets people into their head that maybe light isn't actually that important, and people run past this. And there is a pond in front of it, but because it's just one pond, and there's like a health pond over here that you see in the corner of your eye walking through here. Okay, you actually don't see it, but maybe you just are fixated at looking ahead and you don't notice it too much. Maybe the lighting over here should have been more pronounced. Maybe there should have been more ponds here to make it a bit more obvious. I have to say, to me, I don't know, also quite a few other people, it was very obvious. It was very obvious that you needed to do this. And you also have, if you get close to it, you see this little prompt going up, and then you walk up to it and like, here, press the B button. So to me and to a lot of other people, it was obvious. To some people, maybe I thought maybe a bit too many people, it wasn't obvious. But ultimately, I think it's totally fine. Just something that I thought I would mention while I had the chance of mentioning it. So yeah, like personally, if I was the designer, I wouldn't change a thing about it. Just saying that that's like a side effect that happens. So now you go into the elevator, and this is also another cool thing. We go into the elevator, it goes for a while, and suddenly loading screen, and everything looks completely different. This really looks like this like really mysterious secret behind the everything area. And if you look past the walls, you can actually see, on a bit of a technical aspect, the elevator isn't actually moving. There's just textures on the side of the elevator that project movement onto it, but really the elevator isn't moving ever at all. It's never moving. It's just moving textures on the side of the elevator. Pretty cool, I thought, though, still. Just as a little bit of a trivia thing, the other elevator was exactly the same. So now suddenly the music has become a lot more subtle. Very subtle. You see that there's still this stuff going on, so you're definitely not allowed to be here. You're doing something against everyone's will, at least the will of the filming people. And you see, oh my god, all these secret stuff, all these hidden stuff, and I'm climbing over these exposed pipes, looking at these different pieces of mails and bills, and it really does seem like even more than the Murder on the Owl Express, it really does feel like you're uncovering a mystery. Like all that while I was walking through this stage, I was like, oh, there's some big secret going on here that I'm uncovering, and this music that is kicking in after a few seconds even reinforces that. And I would like to think that most people have the music kick in while they get to this room where the full stage unfolds before it's not the full stage, but when stuff gets real, like, oh, you're jumping across wires, you have this breaking into these offices, bonking on the walls, because of course you're bonking. Oh my god, I like it. I really like the idea behind the stage, like the execution behind the stage. I like the way the stage is done in general. Oh, I didn't make it. So, is there anything else I want to talk about too much about this stage? Because this stage is now very similar to some of the stuff that I've talked about. It's like more linear path, but you do get these little quips every now and then in between these sections where you hear from somewhere behind the scenes someone is talking. I can never really understand what they're saying. Not because I'm talking at the same time, but even when I played this myself, I couldn't actually understand what they were talking about, so it was a bit muted. But I think that actually adds to it a little bit, that you can't exactly 100% make out what they're saying. Also, nice floating glitch. It happens. They're still using lighting for the most part in telling you where to go, and ponds. Like, lighting and ponds are always, or in general, if I want to make it about platformers in general or games in general, lighting and collectibles are usually like the two most useful things for making sure the player goes and looks at where you want them to go and look, and where they were supposed to go and look. Not something that is very absent from bad games, but that's something that's always on point in good games. There's lights here, shined on ponds in the correct path where you need to go. You see over here, this door, it doesn't have ponds, it doesn't have light to it. It does have a secret next to it if you want to, but that's not the way to go. If you look over here, oh, there's many ponds, and you see the light in the distance. Oh, lighting, collectibles, shows you where to actually go. I mean, of course you can elect not to do it, and maybe you can find secrets. Amazing. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it's supposed to work. It doesn't work like this in bad games, but in good games it always works like this. I like the music as well. So now you go through more areas. Like I said, it really feels like you're uncovering the mysteries while walking around an area that you're not supposed to walk through. I don't like the camera of this area right here, because I want to jump somewhere, but I can't because the camera does weird stuff. Whatever, small stuff, you know? Small stuff. Also like that there's like these interactables here and there, like red herrings right there. For flavor, of course, you gotta have flavor as well. Interestingly, they tell you here that you can press the RT button to jump further. I mean, it's supposed to trigger above me. I just managed to hit that trigger. It's supposed to tell you, at this point right here, it's supposed to tell you you can press the RT button to jump further, which you do need to do. So I guess you do need to know that, but haven't they told you this in like Act 2 of the entire game? And they even told you to cancel it. I guess they tell you again, just in case some people out there have forgotten that at some point. I mean, I've seen streams where people forgot that they had a run button if they were using the run hat. Like, I've seen people just use a hat like this, and then just not use the hat ever. And then just play the entire game without ever using the hat. Unless they had to, for a specific occasion. But I was like, yeah, you can use them for other stuff. You can use the run button. You can use this for other platforms other than the bells. You can use this to fight enemies and bosses. You can press this every now and then if you get lost. I feel like maybe people didn't quite understand too much on when they wanted to use a hat. But, yeah, whatever. That's the hats. Forgetting to use hats is not, I mean, outside of when you are supposed to use them, it's not too important, I guess, in my opinion. Mostly because players that do pay attention will use it often and will have a lot of fun using the hats. And if you don't use the hats, you don't lose too much as long as you remember to use them in the places that they need to be used in. So, I think that's actually it for Chapter 2. What a great chapter, I really like Chapter 2. I think Chapter 2 is an amazingly well done chapter. I like the idea behind splitting it up into these two different rivals. They have their own stage, their own way of doing things, where Conductor has like the murder, and then you have Train Rush, and meanwhile you have DJ Grooves, the stages that are not quite as good as that stage, because Conductor has the best stages. And then you have, you started off with like a consolidation of the two, and you ended with a consolidation of the two, to some degree, where you have like these branching paths between the two, which is really nice. So yeah, in general, I really like Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is well done. I think it might actually be my favorite chapter of the entire game. Yeah, actually, no, I'm gonna say this with confidence that Chapter 2 is my favorite chapter of the entire game. The levels, all of the levels are really well done. The only part I don't like about Chapter 2 is the parade, and that's only because I'm a speedrunner, and as a speedrunner, the parade just robs you of your time. But I mean, for a casual playthrough, the parade was really nice, because you actually had to play a bit more intelligently than usual. Like, you had to keep sure that the Shadow Mars, I mean the band, doesn't accidentally hit you all the time while making your way through the stage and collecting pawns, collecting all the, or doing all the different tasks that you needed to do, like turn on the sparks or whatever it was, stuff like that. So yeah, apart from parade, in my personal opinion, apart from the parade, absolutely well done. I also like the once more environmental storytelling and flavor. Oh my god, so much flavor, so spicy. Oh, so spicy, so well flavored. It's like right here you have the personal room of DJ Grooves, where you have some of its movie posters, some of which you star in, like Picture Perfect, starring some girl. Or you have the big parade, also starring some girl, like the little girl it says, I think. Yeah, little girl, some birds. I think we also have, I'm gonna go all the way to the room of DJ Grooves as well, if I can find it. I think I just follow this path and I'm gonna find it. Also in general, I like the sort of atmosphere and idea behind this sort of like behind the scenes stage. So also, I really was a fan of that in like Portal 1 when you went behind the scenes. It does really give you a nice feel like you're breaking out of where you're supposed to go into places where you're not allowed to be, and you're uncovering mysteries that were hidden from you intentionally. I really like that. So now you have the room of the Conductor, where you have like Train Rush, for example. You can even interact with that. These posters came out great, though it occurs you never gave them permission to use their image in marketing. Oh, whoops. Actually, you don't recall signing a contract for anything here, or even giving them any of your details. It's possible you aren't getting paid for these movies. I got paid, though, in timepieces and pawns that I collected along the way. Anyway. Murder Express, also starring some girl. I really like these. I really like that. This game is so chock full, and this chapter in general, this chapter is so chock full of flavor and world building and character. Not just characters, but also character in the world and in the gameplay and everything. I also have mentioned too much, but I also really like the gameplay of these different stages, like doing the Murder Express during the Train Rush, even during the parade. I think the gameplay is at least interesting, unless you're speedrunning, in which case you're just running in a circle. I really like it. I really liked it. It also has a lot of variety to it, where you do different things gameplay-wise, and also visually you do a lot of different things every now and then on screen. What happens? I really like it. I really like the idea behind everything in this chapter. What an amazing chapter. Give it up for this chapter. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. 100 out of 100. Yeah, it's so amazing. Absolutely well done. Actually, not 100 out of 100 because of Big Parade, but that's just because I'm a speedrunner. I wasn't a speedrunner, definitely 100 out of 100. 10 out of 10. 5 out of 5. Mwah, give me my big smooch of appreciation. There you go. That's the biggest honor you can get. So that was chapter 2. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time in chapter 3, which I'm going to record the video for tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow my cold has been gone for even longer, so hopefully I won't have this like stuff in the back of my throat that's keeping me from talking as much as I want to talk. Anyway, that was that. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and I gave you that little bit of a bonus there in case you watched the entire video and you didn't know that you could get into the pillow for it. If you watched the entire video, now you know how to get into the pillow for it. That's my present to you guys who watched the entire video. So that was that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next time.